So recruiting is a hot topic when it comes to building your agency. Where do you find people who are interested in joining your agency? Moreover, how do you find the good picks that aren't going to waste your time, cost you in chargebacks and wasted time? And how are you going to build an agency around those people and stack more and more agents upon it so you can be as profitable as possible? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain to you my entire recruiting strategy. From the moment they come to my website to the moment that they complete onboarding, I'm going to walk you through my entire process because I want you to understand how I have experienced recruiting since beginning the process in 2013, now up to 2023, and what I do systematically to give myself the best candidates while eliminating as quickly and as early as possible the bad eggs, the ones that are going to waste my time, never sell anything, and cost me and my people a lot of frustration and emotional duress. And the goal, of course, is to avoid the mistakes, as you will discover as we walk through why we do what we do and explaining the onboarding process so that you can more quickly have success in recruiting quality candidates into your agency. My name is David DeFord. I own Insurance Agency Builders. This is a YouTube channel dedicated to helping insurance agency builders perfect their craft and their business so that you can experience success like I have in building a successful insurance agency. I have nothing to sell you. I'm not trying to recruit you. I don't even recruit agencies anymore to my DeFord Insurance Group company. But instead, I feel like I'm trying to pay this forward to provide you immense value so you don't make the same mistakes I did coming up and didn't really have anybody to learn from. So we're going to start first with a couple of key concepts here when it comes to hiring agents that I think are critical to understand, that unfortunately the vast majority of organizations that teach recruiting really don't emphasize. So, and if you find this out as you go along, it may cost you tremendously. And we're talking like 5 or 6 figure chargeback losses if you're not careful. And then we're going to go through the walkthrough. I'm actually going to walk you through what my recruiting onboarding funnel looks like from the moment they arrive at my website to the point after they're recruited, and what steps they take to get started with us, because I think you need to see an actual working system to help kind of visualize how this works and why it works so well. And it's something we've continually modified, tweaked, improved many, many years now. So this is not some sort of theory we're talking about, but it's actually based on actual facts. So let's get started. So first of all, key concept of recruiting: garbage in, garbage out. Likewise, quality in, quality out. Now, what do I mean by that? That means how you recruit leads to your results. And there really are two schools of thoughts when it comes to recruiting. The common way that most organizations teach, which is why I'm even doing this video, because they're frankly wrong for a number of reasons. Maybe we'll save that for another day. But the common way that most agencies recruit or teach you to recruit is to talk to anybody with a pulse. See that guy over there? They've got a pulse. They're above ground, walking. That's a prospect to sell or recruit to. Go talk to them in Walmart, cold approach them, be really weird and come up and present your opportunity, right? I've had this happen to me. I don't know if it was insurance MLM, but it did happen. And then do this with anybody and everybody on social, in person, whatever. Everybody is a target, or a prospect to join the agency. Sometimes they seem like a target. This process to me is emotionally damaging, it's mentally frustrating, and it's a great way to quit recruiting very quickly. Why? Because if everybody's a prospect, nobody's a prospect. The truth is there are just some prospects that are better to recruit than others. And if you go after anybody and everybody, you're liable to be frustrated. And why do the agencies do this? There's a lot of theories why. Some of these big companies, they use these people to sell insurance to them and their connections and then try to recruit them. So they serve not only as the potential to be agents to recruit others, but also as prospects to sell insurance to. So that's one reason why too. And a lot of the people at the top of the food pyramid in these agencies, they don't care as much about the quality. They look at things just in raw numbers and raw recruit volume, and they just estimate what they can expect from it. And they also have the lines of protection against chargebacks, so they don't feel the mistakes of hiring a wrong guy who rips you off and writes bad business nearly as much as you do, being their direct upline. So there's this disconnect that you have to be aware of that influences this garbage in, garbage out type of psychology. Now, what I endorse, and I used to kind of do this, and we'll go through this as we walk through the onboarding process, but what I do instead, I do the quality in, quality out process. In other words, the sniper process versus the pump action shotgun spray and pray approach, like what everybody else does. And here's how it works. What we're looking for are a particular type of candidate, what we would call an avatar. Somebody who is representative of what success looks like. So if we kind of think about this process, and everybody's going to have a little bit different avatar, but what we like to see at DeFord Insurance Group are the following. Somebody who's coachable, somebody who's trainable, somebody who's positive, not like a time vampire or time suck. Somebody who's, in most cases, going to be full-time. Whether they buy leads or not is not an issue. If they're going to buy leads, they have to have the right budget, but we do have a free lead program as well. They've got to be willing to do final expense. They can do it face-to-face or telesales, but they got to be willing to do that. And they've got to adhere to accountability and mentorship, okay? And we need to see evidence in their life that they have done something similar to that. So we have constructed this image, roughly, of what it is that we're looking for. We know that most of our successful agents, probably 80% are male, 20% are female. Age range is probably 30 to 55. Any younger than that, some maybe 25 to 55. Any younger than that, it's a crapshoot. Any older than that, sorry old guy, some of them are just opportunity seekers, and there are exceptions, of course, but it gets harder, especially after 60, to find somebody. So in our experience, we know kind of who we're wanting to go after, and we recruit to that process as much as possible. So as you see this process going forward, you're going to see it in action. Again, these are big key concepts that we want a particular type of person, not everybody, with a pulse. And the other thing, too, is you want to see evidence that they're going to follow directions. That's really important because that's going to play out here in a moment. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to switch my screen. I'm going to go over to my website, and I'm going to actually walk you through the process of how we start the onboarding or recruiting process when somebody looks and finds us. Let's say for us, it's on YouTube or maybe an email marketing campaign. What happens when they click on our link to go to our website and begin the recruitment process? So come on over here with me. Okay, so they usually go to my main website, which is davidduford.com. And davidduford.com is where all the information about our system, our business is located. And this is where an agent can start to build a relationship and get into our recruitment funnel. So what happens here just really depends. They can read about our business model and kind of our highlights here. You should have this on your front page. We call this above the fold. The biggest information, the most important information should be listed here, as well as a call to action. In this case, we want them to go read the FAQ, because the FAQ will answer either via video up here or by all this stuff down here, exactly how our business works and what the details are. Now, also very important here, let me try to refresh the page and see if I can get it to show up, is that we also want to collect information as quickly as possible from the agent about what it is that we do and how it works. So let me see if I can try this instead. You'll see this in a second. Well, it's not showing up, but we usually have a pop-up here that offers free training in the form of video information, etc. And it goes to this page here, which is in the menu, the free training menu. And the idea here is to collect through a secondary process a much easier way to provide their information in the form of email to get on our marketing list. And of course, what we intend to do is not just try to recruit people who just show up, because that's maybe 1% or less of the total traffic, way less than 1%. But we want to collect as much as possible into this email campaign so that we can continue to send them helpful stuff. They can come access our training, some kind of like member privilege information that we otherwise wouldn't put on YouTube. And that continues to build a relationship with, I believe, a prospect that's probably more likely to do business with us. And when it comes down to if they're looking at other agencies, likely join us because they've developed that kind of relationship with us, okay? So it's important. We just don't recruit the agent and be that the only way to convert them. We want a Part B recruitment for those who don't opt in to apply, as you'll see here in a second, and just get information so we can drip on them for years on end. Sometimes it takes to recruit people. Now, as far as once they get to this page, the next step of the process is we want them, after they review the FAQ, to then, again, above the fold here, because it's right up front, is to apply to join. Now, one thing, again, back to that quantity in, quantity out. We don't want, quality in, quality out, excuse me. We don't want everybody. In fact, we take kind of an opposing view to most of the agencies out there. Our goal is to disqualify candidates. We have kind of what I would call the velvet rope approach. We got to make sure you're a good fit for us. And that turns the tables on the typical process where it's like, you are a good fit for us, but what's your name and who are you? Which is what most agencies recruit to, and they get all these quality issues, right? So the first part of this process is we have an application form. They fill it all out. It is lengthy, okay? But you can see here, we can figure out where they referred from. Are they licensed? What are they interested in? And some of these questions are disqualifiers. So if somebody just wants to do part-time telesales, we don't do that. They read that here. So we don't even have to fool with having a conversation with somebody who isn't even qualified, right? Chargebacks, we don't want those guys that are deadbeats and don't pay their bills. And then the nice thing that we do, and I really like this, we require the agent to film themselves on camera, telling us about themselves, who they are, and then also reading a script. And the reasons we do this is because we want to see how they are. Are they people who are well-dressed? Do they take this as being serious? Are they giving their best foot forward? Do they sound like they can sell anything? Because there are some people who are just like blah. And you want to figure that out without wasting a 30-minute interview on people to find out that they're just not a good candidate. And again, this disqualifies people because now they've got to also figure out how to record themselves, get it onto YouTube or Google Drive. And some of these people, they can't figure out how to do any of that stuff. And if you can't do that, how are you going to even log into a website and do contracting, right? So there's kind of a disqualifier for a lower than average level of technical competency, right? Technological competency. So again, we've got so many people to talk to, we got to start figuring out ways to get rid of bad prospects, right? So this application process does that. And then they submit it, and then at that point we do an interview. Now we'll get to that in a second, but I wanted to also show you, this is kind of an alternative way to apply. We have a discovery call, and the discovery calls basically are set up in order to ask questions for 15 minutes with one of our trainers. And basically the trainer's job is to answer those questions, see if they're qualified, and then if they're not, show them the door, and if they are, book them into an interview like we would do with the application process if it meets our needs. And yeah, so all of this is to get us to the next step, which is the interview. So the interview, the purpose of the interview is to figure out if this person is a good fit for our organization. This is a critical thing I'm about to tell you. I am not looking, we think of our agents, let me put it this way. We think of our applicants on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being, you know, below average IQ, terrible people skills, no work ethic, right? Like the worst person you could hire. A 10 being like Jordan Belfort, who is completely ethical, walks in, right? We want, here it is, we want not just, at a minimum, people who are 6s out of 10s. Let me explain why, and we'll think about it here because this is critical to understand. You can polish a turd, but even if it's shiny, guess what? It's still a giant piece of crap, right? You can take somebody who's a 4 out of 10, and you could really work them hard. They may get to a 5 or 6 out of 10. But guess what? They're still a 6 out of 10. They're still not going to do that well in business, right? So what you should be thinking about in your interview process and your whole funnel processes is how can I get people who already have an unfair advantage? I'm not talking about people who are like perfect 10 out of 10s, but how can I get 6s and 7s and 8s? Because it's way easier to take someone who's a 6 or a 7 and make them an 8, 9, or 10 than it is to take a 4 and make them an 8 or even a 6. So in the interview process, our interviewer, his job is to think, where does this agent stand? Are they a 6 or better? If they're below that, we don't take them. If they're at a 6, we try to find other instances where maybe there is examples of success. So we'll ask them about their work history, what success they've had in their lives, especially when it comes to performance-based activities. We like to hire veterans. We like to hire people, obviously, who are in sales that have examples of success. We don't have to have people who are in sales or veterans, of course. If somebody has shown initiative in their life and they have enthusiasm and vigor, then we're very interested in them as well. We consider those people sixes. But my point in this and describing this is that we want to make sure that you guys understand that we're going after the good cream of the crop, not the garbage, not the turds that are polished. You don't want that, because if you have an army of polished turds, you're not getting anywhere in this business, all right? And the interview and the application process helps us get rid of that stuff up front. Whereas, and this is the problem with the traditional model, if you don't have that, oh man, it's frustrating. You got to go through so much crap, figuratively and literally even, to get anybody to sell anything, and it takes so much more time to get started. And then there's all the other issues that come with it. So this is why we're big fans now of the interview application process, whereas before, if you told us you were going to buy leads, if you told us that you're going to do it, we'd take you on. And we've cut our recruiting. It's funny, we've cut our recruiting volume probably in half, if not more. We were at 80 to 100 agents a month in 2022. We're down to like 30 to 40, but the 30 or 40 that join are fantastic, much higher success rate. And that's largely attributed to the application interview process, which can't come any more recommended. So after they do the application, the interviewer selects the ones that sound like good fits, invites them to an interview. They then go through a 20-25 minute interview. We let them know that we're going to follow up with them. We're actually trying to test if they're going to objection rebuttal us and like try to make the sale right then and there. Again, it's a sales job, so we want to see if they're going to do it. It's not a deal breaker if they don't, but we do like to see that. And then we let them know within a couple of days if we've decided to accept them. And then if we do, and we don't accept everybody, this isn't just some gimmick, the interview process. We want to get rid of people who are bad fits to save everybody's time and sanity. But once we accept them, we send them an email. Marty sends them an email. He says, hey, after careful consideration, we're proud to announce that we'd like to invite you to join our agency for one of the programs, whether it's free leads, paid leads, whatever. And then we give them next steps to start onboarding. So when we move through the acceptance stage, the next stage here is the onboarding process. And what I'm going to do here now is actually walk you through one of those processes so you can see. Again, one of the things you want to try to do in your business to an extent, there are diminishing returns of this, is automate and systemize certain aspects of it. You don't want to totally remove your human element from the system, but there's a lot of things that you're doing every day as an agency owner that are repetitive and boring and frustrating, and you know it, and it wastes your time. And what you really need to do is develop a system or a process that automatically handles it, as well as all the questions too. And this is what we've done with our onboarding process after we've vetted an agent and decided to invite them to join. So I'm going to walk you through this so you understand exactly what it is and why it works and what the intentions are behind it. First of all, is a walkthrough video of the site, right? Here's what you're going to get. Here's how it works. We tell them to follow all the steps. Don't skip anything. You know, do everything in the order as it's described. The first step is, and we did a video on this, you'll probably, if you go back and see the chargeback video, we do a lot of detail. I'll just kind of skim over this. But we like to scare our agents straight that if they plan to rip us off, we're going to pursue them civilly and criminally. And that we also, we show them documents of court papers where agents who have screwed us have been taken to court, some of which have been sent to jail. We got the video, we got the documents here. And we also tell them we audit their book of business to prevent fraud and things like that, which are a big problem. You need to protect yourself too out there, guys. But we do this up front along with an identity check in case somebody's trying to screw me in my company, we can kind of upfront that, because typically fraudsters don't want to go to jail. People don't commit crimes because they want to go to jail mostly. They do it because they want to get away with it. And this is nothing like anybody else does, so the likelihood I'm going to be defrauded is much lower because of these preliminary steps that we take, as well as monitoring actual business that comes in. We require a lead deposit. This is something that's very important. I used to not require a lead deposit when I was working with agents and strictly in our broker program where they had to buy their leads. A verbal commitment was enough. But what I realized is there were so many agents that would join, say they were going to buy and had all the conviction you'd want, but then life got in the way, whatever their excuses, and they never actually ended up buying anything. And they ended up wasting our time and resources training them to never even step foot out the front door to attempt to make a sale. And what I've discovered by requiring them to pay a $500 refundable deposit that they have to use in 30 days after they pay is that it starts them off in a position of getting momentum. they're now negative 500 if they don't do anything with the system. And so in this case, the agent, which I hope, is going to follow through on their commitments, buy the leads, and that's what triggers us to refund them once I show evidence of doing that within 30 days. And then if they don't, then all the time they've sucked out of my trainers and myself and our team, we now have their money, and that is almost kind of thought of as an expense or a profit source. We don't want that. I'd rather give all the money back and have all these agents write business every week. That would make me way more money. But this is kind of a consolation prize, I guess you could say, if you do have somebody who pays and then wastes your time, and you will get that. So for us, it has worked wonderfully well in filtering out the tire kickers that say one thing and do another. We then have them fill out an acknowledgement slip. This is our acknowledgement form that they understand what they're doing so that they don't claim that we confused or lied to them. Very important to do if you do this. It's not enough just to put the form here. You got to have them fill something out and sign it. And then also have that completed. The next step is to do contracting. If you're wondering who to do contracting with, use SuranceBay. If your IMO doesn't provide it, it's the best in class, very easy to use. I list out the carriers that we want them to have. I tell them issues like New York that are kind of unique, like New York resident issues, etc. Other issues like don't pick these particular companies. We have our reasons why. We will not accept them, so on and so forth. And then we have a walkthrough video about how to complete SuranceBay. Another thing that's important, you'll see visuals as you walk through this, like an image of SuranceBay. Click here. We actually have like a siren going down here. And we put these visuals in here because people sometimes don't read all the directions and they skip stuff, and that delays their eventual execution of joining and selling with us. So we put these visuals in here to help break it up a little bit and to make sure that they adhere to everything. Even though we have it in writing, the more ways to communicate and clearly communicate a message, the better. We tell them everything they need to know, how long it takes to get contracting, are you getting stuck, direct deposit setup. These are common issues that happen, so we created this FAQ. We list our commissions here so they know ahead of time what their comp is going to be for each particular carrier, how to get a release from one carrier to move to us. We talk through that. And then we require them to sign up for this roster so it indicates to our trainer that a new agent has joined and you need to follow up with them and introduce yourselves. And then the last step, of course, is to set themselves up on their training site. We love School. School is created by the guy, Sam Ovens, who created consulting.com. Excellent site. It's kind of like Kajabi if you guys have used that. Great site for just training. It's a forum plus a repository for video trainings. Excellent for what we do. In fact, I'll show you here real quick what it looks like. Let me see if I can log in. Well, here, let's try this. Yeah. So this is our training site under community. You can see all the forum posts here, how it works. You can communicate with people. We've got different ones. This is where my insurance sales success free training program is that we invite. We've got 3 people waiting there. But long story short, this is the last step to the onboarding process till they're on the training site, and then begin the training part of the process of working with us. Okay, so some takeaways from the onboarding and the recruitment funnel process. Again, the best thing I could suggest, and hopefully you can see why with this walkthrough, is please don't recruit thinking that you got to do the mass marketing approach. As I discussed in my chargeback video, where I got stuck with the most chargebacks was because the last year or two, I've made an effort to recruit anybody with a pulse with minimal observation and accountability to making sure those agents are a good fit. And it's probably cost me a tremendous cost than what otherwise I would have earned. And the moral of the story is I would highly recommend that you think about your recruiting efforts. I'm going to move this camera over, not in terms of mass marketing, but in terms of sniping. Figuring out what it is that you want in your ideal prospect and searching for that particular prospect through your interview applicants. And then also making sure that you don't just pick anybody, even if they fit the kind of avatar idea you have in mind. You want to make sure that they've got the stuff, that there's some kind of, like diamond in the rough element to them. Like you can see how they could be successful. You're not lying to yourself and trying to justify something that isn't there. But you legitimately see something like, hey, this guy's a 6 or 6.5 or a 7. I could see how they could be an 8 or a 9. Because building a team of agents that are 8s, 9s, and 10s is exponentially more successful than ones that's built out of 5s and 6s. you probably won't have very much success with 5 or 6s, and you'll have tremendous successes with 8, 9s, and 10s, much less a great culture and a great crew of people, and you'll be less stressed out. So it's important to go through this process, and this is the culmination of everything I've learned in the recruiting and onboarding process, is really to pick those people who are perfect matches for what it is. And so that means you got to figure out what you want, who's your ideal prospect, and then have an application and interview process to flesh out and disqualify the applicants that aren't a good fit. And then I would highly recommend that you incorporate an interview process. First of all, it helps you legitimize yourself compared to other agencies because they'll just recruit anybody with a pulse. Secondly, it sets the frame as not everybody gets in here. You got to be a good fit for us. And that changes the dynamic entirely, which is the exact opposite, as you know. And it makes sure those people who are joining truly are good fits and are going to do well for you. And the last bit of advice here is your job as an agency owner is not to get mired down in pointless details that a video or an onboarding form or an assistant can handle, preferably some sort of automation and technology. So as you do the onboarding process and you develop your funnel and you recruit agents, think about all the questions they ask. This is a really good exercise. Write the questions down in some sort of book, and then you'll eventually have, you'll realize, agents ask the same 80 to 90% of questions. And instead of having to take your valuable time on the phone or an email that they got to wait a day or two for you to reply to, just put it in a form on a website and make that your FAQ in getting started selling, which you can do this on the front end in the recruitment process, but also on the back end when it comes to contracting, the lead deposit, identity checks, etc., common questions that happen. Because what you want to do, again, you're going to scale higher, we hope, and you're going to find your time is more and more in demand. And you got to learn how to say no to certain things. This is one of my things that were very difficult. I'm a people pleaser. I love taking care of my agents. It's my life. But I can't accomplish the other goals that are bigger, that take time and effort and creative energy when I'm mired down in details that I could outsource to tech, a funnel, or to an assistant. And likewise, you should be thinking about the same and how to do the same thing in your business as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. By the way, real quick here, insuranceagencybuilders.com. Check that out, insuranceagencybuilders.com. We're going to have some kind of freebie on there. I don't know if it's going to be a book, podcast, or something, but I want to make sure I collect your information so that I can put you on my list. We don't sell anything, of course, but that may change in the very distant future. But if you were interested in any of that, please go to insuranceagencybuilders.com. You'll see some free stuff that absolutely will help you build your agency and get you to your goals that much faster. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Take care. Thank you.